Okay, so here, friends, as everybody knows, we're living Mamish at the end of Golus with the Be'ezer Hashem and Mamish on the edge of Mashiach's coming. What's happening in the world, I don't have to tell you. In the world, yesterday, and today, and this morning. So, and we're in the 3 weeks and out of the 9 days, so know that we left to learn the laws of the building of the Beis HaMikdash and learning of the laws related to Mashiach, and this hastens its realization. Okay, so we're going to look at the chapter 11, Perek Yud Aleph, second last Perek of the Rambam Mishnah Torah with the laws of Mashiach. So maybe I can say in English just to go quicker, and we'll hit on the questions. So the Rambam says, in the future, Melech HaMashiach will arise and renew the Davidic dynasty. Okay, stop right there. What does this mean? Because at the very beginning, starting with Yaakov and then reiterated by Moishe Rabbeinu, Yehuda was told, from you the kings will come. So the legitimate line of kings are all descendants of Yehuda, of which David HaMelech was a descendant. The first king was the tribe of Binyamin, was Shaul HaMelech. But once David became king, the scepter, that's in fulfillment of what Yaakov said, what Moshe Rabbeinu said, what the Torah says, and from there on, legitimate kings are his descendants, even though they were kings from other tribes. And they had the halachic designation of kings, of Melech. But the true Melech, the eternal, is only from David the Melech, and Mashiach will restore that, restoring it to its initial sovereignty. No other king, only from the tribe of Yehuda, and moreover, descendant of David the Melech. Says the Rambam, he will build the Beis HaMikdash and gather the dispersed of Israel. Kibbutz Goliath. Note the order. First bring the Beis HaMikdash, then Kibbutz Goliath. Just want to say as an aside, the Rebbe would always quote this. It's an interesting thing. As this is a halacha, nobody disputes. No one argues with this order. Elsewhere in the Rambam, he spells out the order of what Mashiach will do in greater detail, identifying him and what he will do, so that you can look at this person and you're obligated to say, if he fits the bill, this man is presumably Mashiach. Becheskas, this is not in this halacha. And then when he completes the job, he certainly is. So there's 2 stages, but that's not the detail here. What I am zeroing in on here is the order of build the Beis HaMikdash. So the Rebbe would always say, for those that argued that the ingathering that we've seen since 1948 is the beginning of Geula, it's not so. That follows bring the Beis HaMikdash. That's when the ingathering, as in terms of the redemption, begins. And to call that already Reish Tzmichas Gelasenu, heaven says, well, you're calling this redemption, you call the shots, that's it, we're done. God forbid it's actually pushing away the real ingathering. If we, especially Rabbonim, will say that this is Reish Tzmichas Gelasenu, Chas v'sholom, hayolosiyah. When is that? Kibbutz Goliath? It's after Binyan Beis HaMikdash. However, here's the big however. In 1992, after Persian got formed, all the great miracles that have insinuated that the ingathering that we're seeing, it's kind of quasi. It already is mamish, the beginnings of redemption. Didn't call it redemption mamish, but not Reish Tzmichas Gelasenu, but something in between a pre-Golus and Geula. That's as an aside. Now I'll continue. Then in his days, the observances of all of the laws will return to their previous state. We will offer korbanos, I'm going to use the Hebrew terms a bit, observe the Shemitah and the Yovel, the Jubilee years, according to all their particulars as described by the Torah. Stop right here. This, by the way, is the halachic definition of redemption, which is why it's in the book of halacha. Now the question is, why is I'm even talking about it? When he comes, he comes. And it happens, it'll happen. Why is he even talking about it? Because he's saying that the halachic definition of Mashiach is a time when we will observe all of halacha, which we haven't done for the longest time. That's the halachic. It's the time when all the mitzvahs will be observed by a world that won't oppose us, which is incidental, really. It's just, but the objective is be mekayim all the Torah mitzvahs. Kachol mitzvasan hamura b'Torah. If you look at the bottom, similarly, he talks about the Ari Miklat. So I'll just tell you what he means. Listen up, I'll tell you what he means. He brings, okay, you know what? Stop. Let's get to it. We get to it. Okay. Now, anyone who does not believe in him. Next line. Kol misha eina maimin boy, or who does not await his coming. In the Hebrew, denies not only the statements of the other Nevi'im, because if you look at the Nevi'im, they're full of prophecies of Mashiach, especially we're going to read now, starting from after Tisha B'Av till Rosh Hashanah for 7 weeks. The whole thing is redemption. From Yirmiyahu, from Yeshayahu. So obviously you deny them. But, says the Rambam, those of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu are teacher. Where do we see Mashiach in the Torah? In Chamushachim Torah. Here, the Torah testifies to his coming, as it says in the Parshas Nitzavim. In Parshas Nitzavim it says, "V'shov Hashem lekecha shvuscha, v'rachamecha v'shov v'kibetzcha." God will bring you back your captivity and have mercy upon you. He will again gather you from among the nations. Even if you are dispersed at the ends of the heavens, Hashem will gather you from there and bring you to the land. Shine. So we see even in the Torah itself, not just the prophets, Parshas Nitzavim. And the Rambam goes on to say that these explicit words of the Torah include all the statements, maybe by all the Nevi'im. They're elaborating on what is said in the Chumash. You're not just denying, therefore, the prophet, which is clearly denying them. You're denying the Chumash, the Torah itself. The Rambam continues. He just brought a reference from where? From Devarim 30, which is Parshas Nitzavim. Then he says, the reference to Mashiach is also made in the portion of Bilam, which you read a couple of weeks ago, who prophesies about 2 anointed kings. The word Mashiach means anointed. The first anointed, that's what it means, Mashiach. The first anointed king is David, who saved Israel from her oppressors. And Bilam also prophesies about the final anointed king who will arise from his descendants and save Israel to the end of days. Now the Rambam goes on to bring all the nevuos there, and he shows like this, that all the words that he says, every sentence is 2 parts. The first prophecy is David, the second one Mashiach. David, Mashiach, David, Mashiach. Let's just go through it quickly. I see it now, but I see it but not now. That refers to David. I perceive it but not in the near future. This refers to Melech HaMashiach. Dorach koichav me Yaakov, a star shall go forth from Yaakov. This refers to David HaMelech. V'kom shevi b'Yisrael, and a staff shall arise in Israel. This refers to Melech HaMashiach. Crushing all the Moab princesses. This refers to David HaMelech, as the pasuk says in the book of Shmuel. He smote Moab and measured them with a line. Decimating all of Seth's descendants. This refers to humanity. The Hebrew word is actually is v'karka, which means to pierce. It means to inflate. Deflate. Doesn't mean destroy so much, but deflate. This refers to Melech HaMashiach, of whom the prophet Zechariah says, "V'yered miyom al yom," he will rule from sea to sea. Now back to Bilam. Edom, his prophecies, Edom will be demolished. This refers to David, as it says in Shmuel. Edom became the servants of David. Seir will be destroyed. That's Melech HaMashiach, as Avadia says. We said this in the Aleinu. V'olu meishim bartziel lishpat esareisav v'hoisal Hashem amlucha. The saviors will ascend to Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esav. That refers to Mashiach. Okay, finished. Pretty clear. Today's question. Now, before I go further. Now he goes on halacha number 2. I think to record the rest of the page. You turn over. No, I did not. Okay, so I don't have it there. But similarly, with regards to the cities of refuge, the pasuk says in Dvarim, when Hashem will expand your borders, you must add 3 more cities. This command was never fulfilled. He's bringing out that Hashem gives a commandment, it's to be fulfilled. There's a commandment in Torah that says when your borders are expanded, you'll add 3 more cities of refuge on the eastern side of the Jordan. It never happened. So clearly the Torah is itself saying a time will come when you will fulfill it. So that's another proof that the Torah is itself pointing to a time of when Mashiach will come and all mitzvahs will be observed. Just by the way, why do we need cities of refuge? That's when someone kills by mistake. That's not going to happen then. Simple answer is, for those that did during the exile period, they will go temporarily to these cities of refuge. Okay, that's the summary. Now, the big question of the day. Why does the Rambam have to bring all these elaborate proofs? First of all, you tell me, the first proof is from where? The first proof from the Torah He wants to show that you're not just denying the prophets, you're denying the Torah. The first proof is where's it from? From Parshas Nitzavim. The second proof he brings is from where? From Parshas Bilam. So the first question is, go in the order. If you bring your proofs from Torah, first you bring from earlier part of Torah, Bamidbar, then you go to Dvarim. First Parshas Balak, and then go to Nitzavim. Why does he bring from Nitzavim and then from Bilam? So the Mefarshim explain, because Bilam's Nevuah is not so explicit. It's all illusion. It's all hints. But in Parshas Nitzavim, it's very clear. Hashem will bring back your captivity and return you. You'll be dispersed to all over the world, and the time will come back. You come back to Eretz Yisrael. So why does he bring Nitzavim first? Because that's much more explicit, whereas Bilam's, he has to explain it. It's not clear to the reader what the Nevuah is, which begs the next question. So don't bring from Bilam. You have to bring it, just bring from Parshas Nitzavim, and that's it. Now the answer to that is turn the page, friends, because the Rambam wants to make a very important point. This is one of the strangest Gemaras, a lot of commentary. Let's read it. Right-hand column. The Gemara is discussing how long is Moishe Mashiach. 70 years, 40 years, 3 generations. I'm not going to go into that. Moishe Mashiach before the revival of the Trias HaMesim. But we want to look at the middle of that paragraph. Rabbi Hillel says, a shocking statement. They're all discussing how long is it. All other Tanoim are discussing how long will be the Messianic era before the revival of the dead. And he says, no. Rabbi Hillel Omer ein lahem Mashiach liYisrael. There's no Mashiach coming for the Jewish people. Shekvar achlu b'mei Chizkiah. All the prophecies relating to the Mashiach were already fulfilled during the days of King Chizkiah, a great Jewish king, who was a descendant of King David. So the Mefarshim are like, is no Mashiach? What's he saying? Before we get to what he's saying, look how the Gemara continues. Rabbi Yosef says, may the master forgive Rabbi Hillel for stating matters with no basis. And he proves that it can't be that Chizkiah was the end result, the prophecy. Why? Simple proof. With regards to Chizkiah, when was his reign? It was during the first Beis HaMikdash. Now, Zechariah ben Berachia, the prophet, he prophesied during the second Beis HaMikdash and said, rejoice greatly, daughters of Zion, shout, daughters of Jerusalem, behold, your king will come to you. He is just and victorious, lowly and riding upon a donkey and upon a colt, the foal of a donkey, describing Mashiach as coming on a donkey. Whatever that means symbolically. So when did he make that prophecy? In the generations after Chizkiah. There are prophecies about the redemption and the coming of Mashiach. How could you say there's no Mashiach when the prophet is describing who lived after Chizkiah? So he kind of dismisses Rabbi Yosef's view. But Rabbi Yosef is an opinion in Torah. Now what does he say? Rabbi Yosef's opinion is saying, he doesn't say there's not going to be a redemption. Listen carefully. There'll be a redemption, but not a Mashiach. The person Mashiach, that was Chizkiah. All the prophecies, Parshas Nitzavim says there's going to be a Mashiach. God will bring you back. So the person Mashiach, no. But redemption, Geula, yes. Now go back to the Rambam. It's this that the Rambam wants to negate. The person shouldn't think, okay, I subscribe to Rabbi Hillel's view. I believe in Yemoisa Mashiach. I believe in Geula. I want him to call Yemoisa Mashiach. I believe in Geula. Mashiach means a person. But there's no Mashiach. Let's go back to the Rambam. Call me she'ena maimin boy. Anyone who doesn't believe in him, or doesn't await his coming. The Rambam is stressing that the halacha is not like Rabbi Hillel. And yet it's not enough to believe in the era of redemption, you got to believe in him. And that's why he has to bring the psukim from Parshas Balak. Because Parshas Balak talks about a person. A star should go out, a staff crushing he. In the translation, by the way, I see it. It should be more, I see him. Arenu, I see him. Asherenu, I see him. Now, it's taka, not explicit, but the reference is to a person. And he brings it secondary because it's not so explicit, but he has to bring it to support what he's saying, that the Torah itself is prophesying about a Melech HaMashiach. We're clear? There's a famous Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer writes, and the art scroll brings the Chassam Sofer on this Gemara that we just quoted. I'm happy to see that, because the reader of the Gemara could say, okay, there's two opinions. There's Rabbi Hillel. True, Rabbi Yosef was very strong again. May God forgive you for saying such a thing, etc. But as we all know, any opinion in Torah, even if it's rejected and the guy doesn't come up with an answer, it's still an opinion in Torah. So a person could say, okay, so I have the right to believe. I don't have to believe in a Mashiach per se, just in the future redemption. So the Rambam clearly says not, and the Chassam Sofer says even stronger. There's 13 principles of faith, and one of them is redemption and Mashiach. If a person doesn't believe in the person, he's a kofer. To ascribe to Rabbi Hillel's view is heresy. You're denying, meaning to say heresy, denying one of the foundations of our faith. It's not enough to believe in a Mashiach, in the Geula, but in Mashiach. Very famous words of that. The article brings it there. The reader should know. Don't make a mistake here. This is very serious. And the Rambam makes it very clear. Call Mishainu Maimin boy. And by the way, also, not enough to believe in him. You have to wait. Or he believes in him when he comes, he comes. No, you have to await. As we say in the Videi Shmoneh Esrei, we await your salvation, not every day. Kol hayom, all day. Bags packed in essence. Okay, that's the end of explaining the Rambam, why he brings from Pashas Bilam, because that is the proof in the Torah of a person, not just an era. Why he brings it secondary, because it's not so clear. First, he has to establish there is Geula, because that's also not that clear. The prophets are very clear. But he shows, yes, it is. It's a Pashas Nitzavim, not just Geula, but the person. Now comes the big question, which will begin today. Why talk? Why talk? Why? Actually, there's some Mefarshim that want to say that on Rabbi Hillel, he's making it even better. Not a person. The Abish himself is going to redeem us. The person, that was Chizkiah, so that was done. Chizkiah was the person that it could have evolved into the actual Geula. It didn't, but he was the person, Mashiach. Now what are we left with? Even a better deal. Abish himself, he's not trying to diminish. It makes it stronger. But the Rambam is saying no, everybody's saying no, it's got to be a person. The question is why? Why must it be a person? Now to make our question stronger, I'm going to ask another question. Okay, so there's a person, Mashiach, who's a great charismatic leader, which the Rambam describes later in more detail. He says like this: he's a descendant of David HaMelech. He's a great scholar in all areas of Torah. He means everything. He has to know all the oral law, Kabbalah and Halacha, has to know everything. And then he will compel all Jews to go in the way of Torah. He's not doing this with a gun. He's going to compel. He's going to make Yiddishkeit so exciting, so beautiful that, hey, of course. Then he adds, and he will strengthen the breaches in its observance, like a wall that's breached as a hole. There'll be like special emphasis on certain mitzvahs to mend the breaches, fight God's wars. He said open. What does it mean? It's not black and white. You could say assimilation, etc., or even Israel. Be involved in Israel's security, whatever. Leave that to people to interpret. If you see a person doing this, you assume is Mashiach. If he completes the job, gathers and disperses, builds a Beis HaMikdash, then certain. So good. So you need a great leader to inspire, to shuv, and all these things. Here's the question. But once the Geula has come, and Hashem is revealed here on earth, as the Rambam himself goes on to say, quoting the Novi Yeshayahu, the world is filled with the knowledge of God. And here's another pasuk: no man will have to teach his fellow, all will know me. The question is, why did he need Mashiach then? He did his job, brought the world to redemption. God's revealed. Everybody is pursuing the knowledge of Hashem, you would think the role of a king or a leader is not necessary. And yet, the Nevuah says, Avdi David, my servant David, meaning Mashiach, Nasi lehem la'olam, is forever the king. So it's kind of the same question. What do you need a Mashiach then? Certainly then you don't need a leader. No one's got to teach anybody else. He did his job. Now God's revealed and smooth sailing here on. Question's clear. It's kind of the same question, but a little bit deeper. Why the person? Why not Hashem and the people? And as simple as that. So we'll begin the answer today. I guess obviously it needs a lot of elaboration. And Be'ezrat Hashem will continue next week. And that is as follows. Let's make it clear the following. What I'm sharing with you is really articulated and made clear only at the end of Golus, in the teachings of Hasidus, and particularly our Rebbe's teachings. It was always there lurking below the surface, but never spelt out. Time didn't come. And what is that? Till the Baal Shem Tov, till Hasidus, till our Rebbe, the general final step, people understood, and Apitoira, the model in our relationship with God is like this. God, Torah mitzvahs, Jew. You do Torah mitzvahs, you're connected. You don't, you're out. And that attitude still lingers, and it's justified by the Torah itself in many sources. And it's very obvious. And Avera means you're cut off, and mitzvah means you're connected. So if you don't do the mitzvah, you are not connected. And if you sin, you're cut off. Avera means passed over, away. So along came the Baal Shem Tov. It's all based on the Arizal. And once it's revealed, it's in every story, it's in every... No. There's a deeper dynamic going on. The neshama is part of Hashem, period. Every neshama is rooted in Hashem, higher than Torah and mitzvahs. This is actually, our sages tell us that Yisrael, the thought, the Jewish neshama, Yisrael kodma l'chol davar. Yisrael precedes everything, even Torah. We showed you the source, the 7 things that precede creation. It mentions all 7, then Torah, and then Yisrael. And making it clear which one comes first, Yisrael precedes Torah. The raya from Tanveli or Rabbi. The Medrash brings the raya that the Yidden precede even the Torah. Why? Because the Torah itself says, and God spoke to Moishe saying, speak to the Jewish people. So what does that mean? So Torah is this composition that God's composing. Speak means the Jew is there. Speak to the Jew is there. Now we're talking to him. So Torah is God's communication to the Yid, but Dabra ben Yisrael, Tzavos ben Yisrael is saying that the Yid's are before Torah. What does it mean before? It means that a neshama is part of Hashem unconditionally, inseparably finished. No, so what do you Torah mitzvahs for? To connect me to God, I am connected. The answer is Torah mitzvahs. Hashem sends the neshama down to the body. So even that level of the neshama that's in the body, including the body, should also be connected. To rephrase that, the purpose of Torah mitzvahs is to reveal that essential connection. Where? Here. It's a huge chiddush. Now you all know the famous story, and I'll just give you the bottom line that illustrates this so beautifully. 1967, after the 6-Day War, the soldier on the train, the officer, the first rabbi says, put on film. No, thank you. And next up, Rabbi Mendel, whoever it gets on, little conversation, is putting on film. What happened? The officer explained. The first rabbi is saying to you, put on film, and I sense he was saying, put on film and be Jewish. Well, I am Jewish, thank you, so no, thank you. The second one I felt he was saying, you are a Yid, so put on film. That simple little story illustrates it. The second rabbi was not saying put on film and be anything. It's who you are, now express it. Reveal it. So what I'm saying in summary today, which will continue next week, is very, very deep and very powerful, that the whole purpose of everything is to reveal the neshama down here. It's about the neshama. And Mashiach embodies the neshama of all Jews, which is why he remains the focus and why it's all about believing in him. It really means believing in a Yid. It really means believing in a Yid, what a Yid is. Because that's the whole point of this. The whole point of redemption, Torah mitzvahs, is to reveal what a yid is. And that's embodied, as we'll explain, Dafkin boy. That why Va'avdi David Nasi Alem Loylam to be continued next week in greater detail. Be'ezer Hashem.